It says, which quadratic function has a graph with a vertex at 4, -2 and passes through the point 6, 10? Class, which form of quadratics has the vertex in it? The vertex form. What is the vertex form?
A plus
So the vertex has h and k to be 4, -2, and the point is just an ordered pair. If you look, I have 4 letters, and over here I have 5 letters. If I do all the substitutions, it tells you what letter we're solving for. My y value is 10. My a value we don't have. My x value is 6. My h value is 4. And my k value is -2. So class, we're basically solving for what letter? The a value. So 10 equals a. 6 minus 4? Now I'm just using PEMDAS on one side of the equation. So 2 squared is 4. So I write 4a minus 2. Remember, it's a times 4, so you can change them around because you're used to the variable or number first. To solve there, I'm just going to add 2. So I get 12 equals 4a divided by 3. A is equal to, why did I divide by 3? Divided by 4. A is equal to 3. What can you do with your a value now? Well, I would essentially just use the a value and then the h and the k values. Because it says which quadratic function. So y equals 3 times x minus 4. So I'm basically taking my puzzle pieces and putting them back into vertex form. So a is 3. My h value is 4, and my k value is -2. And then if I take my answer and match for one of those up, what is it? The answer would be A. So in this problem, all you're really doing is just taking those pieces and solving for the a value, and it's one of your choices. Alright, question number 2 says, student models the way some bacteria reproduce a cutting sheet of paper in half. Well, I don't know, there's the word half. I'm going to underline it. It sounds like a math word. Dividing by 2. And then cutting each part in half. And then cutting those parts in half, and so on. What function could the student use as another model for the number of bacteria? So although you cut something in half, let's say I take this piece of paper and I cut it in half. How many pieces of paper do I have now? 2. So think of halves as 2. Does that make sense? So what will happen from 1 to 2, and then what happens next? I got 4 pieces of paper. So 1 to 2 to 4, that gives you what? What's happening?
It's doubling.
It's doubling. Which one shows doubling? A, exponential. Alright, question number 3. I put an X on there. That was the extra credit question from last year. I'm sorry, there's a word problem. Never mind, not an extra credit question. A football player kicks a football across the football field. The ball leaves the player's foot at a height of 5 feet. It follows a path. Let's just draw a picture. And you can't see that. Here's the football player. And there's their kick. And here's the ball. And the ball's at 5 feet. It follows a path in the shape of a parabola. At its highest point, the ball is horizontally distant 60 feet from the player. So this is 60 feet. And is 35 feet above the ground. So essentially that ordered pair would be 60, 35. Which function represents the height of the ball in terms of the distance from the player? So they want to know the equation. Here this order pair is 0, 5. That's our x and the y. This is the vertex. That's the maximum. That's going to be h and k. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use vertex form, solve for a, and then figure out my equation. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Our x and the y values are here. My h and my k's are here. So y is 5, x is 0, minus 60 squared plus 35. I'm just going to use PEMDAS to simplify that. So I have 5 equals a times negative 6. Negative 6 squared is 36 plus 35. I'm going to subtract 35 from both sides. That gives me a negative 30 equals 36 times a. If I divide by 36 on both sides, you get negative 5 times 6, and then 6 times 6. So our 6's cancel. A is negative 5, 6. And that's not one of my answers. Let's see. Double check. Yep. Negative, there's my answer. Negative 60, not 6. Negative 60 squared is 3600. So this would be 3600 you can think of that as negative 5. So that's negative 30. 3600 is 600 times 6. So I have negative 5 or negative 1. Negative 1 times 5. And then 5 goes into 600 120 times. So the 5's will cancel. You're left with negative 120. Negative 120 is C and D. A and B are wrong. And then I need a, so you can just write a formula. A times x minus h squared plus k. So A value is negative 120. You leave your y's and your x's. Your h value is 60. And your k value is your k value is 35. So my formula, this one, would match x minus 60, x plus 35. So that would be choice C. Number 3, the answer is C. In question number 4, it says analyze the graph. So if I look at this graph here, I'm just going to write down some observations I recognize from number 4. What do I notice about the graph? Up or down? So my A value is going to be what? It's going to be some kind of negative number. Okay. What else does the graph kind of show us? Okay, you have the y-intercept, or it looks like the y-intercept, but you also have the x-intercept. And if you look at your multiple choice, you have all in factored form. So because it is pointing down, I can eliminate which two? A and B. Okay. If my p-value is positive 1, and my q value from the graph is negative 2, I just have to use factored form, because it kind of already tells you it's already factored with two sets of parentheses. A times x minus p, x minus q. My a value has to be some kind of negative number. My p value is 1. Pay attention here. Your q value is negative 2. See that? And I just have to clean that up. And that would be choice. Negative 1, positive 2. That would be choice D. Question number 5 says, analyze the graph of f of x, which could be the graph to represent. Well, if I look at my graph here, it's not a u. A u would be to the power of 2. So it's not c. This one has to the first power, x to the first power, that's linear. It's just a straight line, not that one. This one is to the power of 3. This is called a cubic function. It looks like a snake. Not that one. So my answer is, this one says 3 to the x power. And this is an exponential graph. How do I know it's exponential? The base here is a number, and the exponent is a variable or a letter. So that's how you do number 5. Alright, for question number 6 says, which is a function equivalent to f of n equals n plus 2 squared plus n squared minus 4. And I'm going to go ahead and look ahead and kind of see what I'm up against. So I see some that are factored. I see a standard form, and I see one that I have to distribute. So I'm probably going to do something like this. I'm probably going to, might be kind of long, but I'm going to simplify this, and then I'm going to simplify every of these problems, like 4 mini problems, and match up my answer. May not be the fastest way, but I think we'll get there. Here was a common mistake from the quiz. N plus 2 squared. Again, you cannot distribute the power of 2. You cannot apply the power rule of exponents. Essentially what you have to do is that is n plus 2 times n plus 2. And because you're multiplying here, you're going to have to either use FOIL or the box. So I'm going to have n plus 2, n plus 2. Class, what's n times n? N squared. Class, what's 2 times n? N times 2. And 2 times 2. 4. So if you combine like terms there, what do you get? N squared plus 4n plus 4. Now don't forget these over here. So I get n squared minus 4. I'm just going to combine like terms here. Which ones are like terms? N squareds. N squared plus n squared is? You're adding the numbers in front, so that'll just be 1 plus 1, 2n squared plus 4n. Positive 4 and a negative 4 gives us, okay. Now the answer is kind of short, isn't it? So I'm going to take a chance at letter choice D. Why D? Because D, all you have to do there is what? Distribute. Let's check. N times 2n? 2n squared, and then n times 4. 4n. Class, does that match ours? Yeah. Now, if I had the time, I'd probably work out A, B, and C just to double check. Okay? Because it could mean I made an error some here, and then I just want to double check both of mine. But in multiple choice, I would not recommend just doing what I did there, just circle the answer, I would actually make sure A, B, and C are wrong, just to make sure. Question number 7, analyze the graph. Okay, so something I recognize that all of these are in which form? Okay, standard form, what's its advantage? Why is standard form good? Is it because of the vertex? No. Is it because of the x-intercepts? No. Standard form is good for the y-intercept. If I kind of extend this graph, which you guys can do this, you guys didn't do this on your quizzes, it's going to cross a y-intercept of a positive number. I don't know, like 20 or something like that. Does that make sense? So if I look at all these values, I can cross off all the ones that have negatives, because the graph doesn't cross down here on the negative y values. So not this one, not this one, not this one. My answer is C. And there was some other things you can see as the graph opens up and they're all positives. So I can't eliminate anything like that. So look at your choices and then just recognize, okay, they're all in standard form. What's the advantage? The y-intercept, and that has to be a positive number. It says, what is another way to represent the expression 2n plus 1 parentheses n plus 3 parentheses minus 4? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my highlighter, and I'm going to underline this part here. And that tells me I'm going to have to use this box. I'm going to have to multiply binomials times binomials. 2n plus 1 and then n plus 3. And I'm just going to multiply. 2n times n is 2n squared. 2n times 3 is 6n. n times 1 is 1n. And 3 times 1 is 3. If I combine like terms with these two, I'm going to get 2n squared plus 7n plus 3, and then don't forget the minus 4. So my answer is going to be 2n squared plus 7n minus 1. Okay, let's see if we get lucky. Does any of these say this? Exactly. It doesn't. Let me show you, not a shortcut, but if you think about it, let's look at D. The reason why D is not the answer, class, what is n times n? N squared, not 2n squared. Do you see I don't have to do the rest of the problem? You can. If I were doing it, you could just do each of these individually and figure out which of those say that. But I can also eliminate some of my answers. Same thing in B. N times n would be n squared. This is 2n squared, so B can't be my answer. Now C is close, and I would basically do the same thing as we did over here. But I want to look at this one. This one I don't have to use FOIL or the box because I don't have a parentheses binomial 1, 2 times a binomial. This one all I have to do is just distribute. So let me see what would happen if I just distribute on that problem. I would get something like this. 2n squared plus 6n, and then I have this plus n minus 1. And if I just combine like terms right there, I get 2n squared plus 7n minus 1. And does that match what we have? Yeah. So the correct answer for 8 is A. If you guys think about it, multiple choice isn't guessing or even educated guessing. It's actually like doing the math. It's just one of the answers is there to check your answers. Question number 9. Analyze the pattern. Okay? Anytime you see analyze the pattern, make a table of values. Design number, and then however many triangles. So design 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 triangles. I got 7, 2, 5, 9, 2, 5, 8, 8, 10, 13. Is that right? Did I count right? 4. Oh, I can't. That's 7. 3, 8. This one's 10, huh? Can't count. Okay. So then just look at it. What's happening there? Plus 3. This is a first common difference, which means it's linear. Y equals mx plus b. Let's look at our choices there. This one's quadratic. No, because it's power 2. Quadratic. No. Okay, now I'm left with these two. The first common difference here refers to the slope. So in slope is the number in front of x. So that would be the 3. Choice C is your answer. Have a good day. Question number 10 says, which of these graphs represent the function of f of x equals negative x minus 3 squared minus 2? Class, what form is that in? Oh, one set of parentheses is vertex form. What's the formula? A x minus h squared plus k. Okay, A is negative. What does that mean? Opens what? Down. Having a down day. So it's not opening up, not opening up. So I'm left with choices B and D. Remember, the H value, pay attention there, is 3. The K value is negative 2. So the vertex is 3, negative 2. So I just look for 3, negative 2. This one is 3, positive 2. This one is 3, negative 2. The answer is B. Alright, question number 11 says, the diagram below shows the first 4 of series of designs that an artist draws on artwork. The artist wants to use a design with a maximum of 15 shaded circles. What number of design numbers should the artist use? Okay, so I have, let's make a table of values. Design number, and then total number of dots, right? So I have design numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have 3, 4, 5, and I have 6. Now you could, probably be very painful, you can expand this table all the way so you have a total of 15 dots. Super painful, not wrong. That's why we learned some math. (11, 13, 12, 14, and then 13, 15. But I want you to pay attention. It says design number 13, you have 15 dots. Do we see design number 13 here? No. Okay, so what they're implying here is not one particular design number. I was talking with a student, I think they didn't do a good job. Is if they added this word here, a total maximum of 15 shaded circles. What does that mean? I think what they were trying to say is if you add them. Class, what's 3 plus 4? 7 plus 5. And then 12 plus 6 is, so 7, 12, and then this would be 18. So 15 is right between designs 3 and 4. So once a maximum of 15. So 12, 15, that would give us between design numbers 3 and 4. Uh-oh, that's not on our answers, is it? They have B. Design 6. Why is it design 6? 3 plus 4 is 7. 12. Say again?
7 and 8, isn't that equal to 2? 5 and 6.
So you're thinking like, but you're thinking like, which two design numbers?
Number 5 and number 6.
That one's not a good question. 0, 2. So the equation is y equals mx plus b. You're adding 1, and my y-intercept is 2, 0, 2. So here's my equation, and then it says I want a maximum of 15. So if I put 15 here, I subtract 2. I should be looking at design 13, like we did. But this one's saying like 2 design numbers. I just didn't think it was a really well-worded question. What is another way to represent the expression 3n minus 1 times n squared plus 2 minus 4? I'm going to do the strategy we just did in the previous problem in question number 8. Is I'm just going to multiply the first 2 and just see what I get. 3n times n squared is going to give me 3n squared. Class, is that one 3n squared? No. This one's a little bit tricky. You would have to distribute in this problem, but there is no n squareds. This one is n squared times 3n, so that would give me a 3n squared. So this one's a possibility. This one says 2n times n squared, which would give us 2n cubed. So it can't be that one. And then I have 3n squared. So I know it's either B or D. So let's go ahead and I'm going to apply and multiply it out. So I'm going to multiply these two first. I'm going to write those on the outside. 3n minus 1. And then I have n squared plus 2. (3n times n squared), 3n cubed. 3n times 2 is 6n. N squared times negative 1 is negative 1n squared. And negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. This would give me an answer of 3n cubed minus 1n squared plus 6n minus 2. Now, a common mistake is to forget this small little piece right here, this minus 4. So don't forget the minus 4. 3n cubed. Oh, I made a mistake. I see my mistake. Minus n squared plus 6n minus 6. So my mistake was I realized in multiplying that it should have been not 3n times n squared. So let's write it out. 3 times n squared is there's 3 n's. So I should have been looking for 3n cubed. And the only one that has a 3n cubed is this one. Right? N squared times 3n is 3n cubed. So the correct answer is B. Question number 13 says, what is the vertex of the graph of f of x equals 2x squared plus 8x plus 3? The word vertex is just the lowest or highest point. And you're going to have to use some equations. And this problem, they give you no parentheses. So what form is that? This is standard form. And in standard form, there's an equation, if you look at your foldable, for the vertex. X equals negative b over 2a. So essentially what you would do is you take your b value from over here, which is 8, and then 2 times your a value, which is 2, and you get x equals -4. If you look at all of our choices and you break the lines up, this is all the x coordinates and this is the y coordinates. Now, I'm looking for one. It's -2. Why did I say -4? Huh? The only one that has x equals -2 is choice D. Okay, let's just say they were super tricky and they had a different order pair that says -2 and -6. How would you know the difference between the two of those? Well, what you can do with this number, -2, is basically you just put it back into the function for every time you see the number x. Let's do that together, just to show you why it is a -5 and not -6. So f of -2 equals 2 times -2 squared plus 8 times -2 plus 3. I'm trying to explain why you get a 5 there. I'm just going to use PEMDAS, so -2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 6 times -2 is -16. Remember, it's not 8 minus 2, and plus 3. -8 plus 3 is -5. So the order pair is -2, -5, which is choice D. Number 14, a quilter sews large squares made of small gray and white tiles shown. So I'm assuming these are gray and those are white. The design depends on the size of the large square. The diagram shows the sequences of designs. The quilter wants to make large squares that each have a total of 64 small squares. How many white small squares are needed for each large square the quilter makes? So I see how they labeled a design number. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they want white squares. White. So if I look in this design, you can just literally count. Did I just kill an ant? Okay, see it? No? I killed an ant. You see it? He's sleeping. He's not paying attention. Let's go put it on him. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 11. 11 plus 3 is 14. 4, 8, 11, 14, 14, 18, 22. Okay, so let's just and then I can see that this has a total of 3 by 3, so this is a total of 9. I just want to count the total number. This is a 4 by 4, so 16, 25, 36, 9, 16, 25, 36. So if I expand my table here, the fifth design will have, that's 3 times 3, that is 6 times 6, so this will be 49, and then this one will have 64. And then if I recognize what's happening here, I got plus 4, plus 6, plus 8. If I follow my pattern, I'm going to have plus 10, so that'll be 32. And this will be plus 12, so this would be 44. So how many white small squares are needed for each large square of the quilter? So they wanted 64, so this is 64. right? This would have 64, and then I would have a total of 44 white tiles. So 44 white tiles would be choice C. Question 15 says, a fruit grower determines that the bushels in f of x of apples produced depends on the pounds x of fertilizer. Using according to the function f of x equals negative 0.0012 x squared plus 1.03 x plus 2.46, which graph is an equivalent model of this relationship? So, let's just say you don't understand it, but basically they're saying the number of pounds of apples produced is in correlation or a function of how much fertilizer they use. Okay, alright, maybe not as important to you, but if you just look at your function, just figure out what do you have there. I'm gonna highlight the highest degree. It's a 2. Is that this one? No. A is what? This is linear. Is power of 2 represent this one? No, this one's exponential. Remember, it's a smooth curve. Is it this one? No, this one's called cubic. So the correct answer would be B. This is a parabola. And the parabola looks a little bit different because there's no second arrow, but essentially what they're doing in real life is that there is no negative amount of fertilizer you put in there. It's always positive. So this is a part of the parabola you don't see.
I love math. You don't love math? What's wrong with you? I love math.
Alright, question number 16. Which functions are equivalent to one of these below? Alright, so let's just go ahead and multiply that out. Remember, x plus 1 squared basically means negative 2 times x plus 1, and then plus 18. So I'm going to go use the box. I've got x plus 1, x plus 1. I'm going to multiply. So, and then combine like terms. X squared plus 2x plus 1 plus 8. I'm using PEMDAS, so I'm going to distribute now. It's kind of weird, I'm working my way up because I didn't have any space there. So I have 2x squared plus 4x plus 2 plus 8. And then if I combine these, I get 2x squared plus 4x plus 10 is the 1. So I have to figure out which one of these is equivalent. I'm going to eliminate B because B has a negative. And so does D. And so does A. Now, be careful of this one. I'm just going to double check. If I make a box here with this one, just want to double check that this is the correct answer. I have negative x minus 3, negative x minus 3. I'm not going to actually do the whole problem. I can just look at the very beginning. Negative x times negative x is a positive x squared. And then you get whatever is your answer, but then you're eventually going to multiply by 2. Does that make sense? So you'll get 2 times x squared, which matches ours. Remember, all the other ones have a values that are negative, so therefore our choice answer is C. Alright, back in question number 16. Made a mistake here, so let's make sure it's the right one. We were supposed to distribute a negative 2. This would have gotten us negative 2x squared minus 4x minus 2. And then if I combine like terms, I would get negative 2x squared minus 4x, and this would give us a plus negative 2, and a positive gives us a plus 6. Okay, you can do a couple of things here. You could factor out a -2. And then you would get x squared plus 2x minus 3. And then what would I do with that? -2, then you can factor that. X plus 3, x minus 1. And this would give us 16 and 7. The answer is A and B. -4, -2. Oh, plus 18. That would help, so I get 16 here. Positive 16. 16, factor our -2, this would give us a -8. And then -8, this would give us a -2 x plus 4 x minus 2. And then from there, that would be choice A. And that box, so this one here gives you this one, and then this one as well, -4x plus 16. So your two answers for number 16 should be 16, A and B.
I love math. You don't love math? What's wrong with you? I love math.
The diagram shows patterns painted on tiles. The design used depends on the size of the tile. So again, see a picture, I'm going to make a table of values. So I got 2, 7, 9 plus 11, 9 plus 2 is 11, 11 plus 2 is 14, and then I got 4 times 4, which is 16, 20, and then 23. Let n represent the number of design, which expression represents the number of blocks, and the design select all that apply. Ooh, this one says select all that apply, which means it could be more than one. Add 5, add 7, add 9. So this number is not the same, so it's not linear. So I'm going to cross off any that are linear. These are all quadratic. Then I'm going to use the second common difference. So I know it's quadratic, and all of these would be quadratic when you multiply them out. Now, my second common difference is my A value. So A equals the CD divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. I'm looking for an A value that equals 1. This one is 3. These two, if I multiply those out, those would work. What's another way you can use multiple choice is if I put in 2 for the n value, I can just find an answer that has 7. So if I put in 2 here, 2 squared is 4, 4 plus 2 times 2 is 4, 4 plus 4 is 8, 8 minus 1 is 7. So this one looks good. If I put in 2 here, so that's 2 plus 2 is 4, 2 minus 2 is 0, 4 times 0 is 0, 0 plus 5 is 5, not this one. If I put in 2 there, 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 minus 1 is 7. So my choices are A and D. You could create an equation using this, but I kind of saved myself by just realizing that I can substitute in those points. Alright, question number 18 says, which table describes the function that is linear? So the word linear should be a first common difference. Okay, a lot of students are saying like, you can add a blank number every time. You can't say the word increasing, you have to say add. And then I'm going to double check that all these numbers on the x values are going by plus ones. These should always be plus ones, plus ones, plus ones. Okay. So here I have -6 plus 5 gives you -1, plus 3, plus 1. So this is not the first common difference. Adding 4, add 4, add 4, add 4, add 4, and then add 4. So this looks like a good choice, C. Same thing on that side, and then this would be plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, plus 3. So this one also makes first common difference. This is good. And then over here, add 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. So 18, you'll actually have those three answers. B, C, and D, just because they all have a first common difference. Alright, question number 19. Analyze the graph. Which could it be? So, I have a graph that is smiling down. This is my smiley face down. So that means it's an A value that is less than 0, which basically means that A value is negative. So let's figure out which ones have negative A values. Here, here, and here. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate choice A. Okay, so if I take each of these, and I got a bunch of different things happening here. This one, for choice B, I have negative x minus 4, x minus 3. So two sets of parentheses, factored form. And then here I have a p-value that is 4 and a q-value that is positive 3. These are in the negatives, right? Negative values, and these are positive values, so it can't be B. So this was B. Let's try C. C is in vertex form. And I'm going to change that plus 4 to minus 4. And then write ax minus h squared plus k. So then my h value is negative 4, 2. Left 4, up 2. Okay, this matches. So I'm going to put a check here. And let's compare that to D. Remember, this one says select all that apply, so it could be multiple of these. In D, it has factored form, so this is D. And again, I'm going to change that h value to be a negative 2. So instead of being plus 2 minus negative 2, x minus negative 3. And you can write the form right underneath or above it. That's a p. So a value is negative, that matches. My p value is negative 2, so left, going left, right there, would match. And q value is negative 3, that matches too. So my choices are C and D. Number 20 says, which function describes a parabola with x-intercepts at negative 3, 0 and 4, 0? So when I see the word x-intercepts, I'm going to guess that we're using factored form. So I can cross off those that are not in factored form, unless those factored form ones do not give us the correct answer. So I don't see A and B. Let's give myself a graph, quick visual. I have negative 3, 0, and right 4, 0. Now I'm not sure if the graph actually opens up. I'm not sure if the graph opens down. All I know is that they go through these 2 points. Here in C, I have factored form. Let's see if I can write the formula above it. Ax minus p, x minus q. This one would say that my q value my Q value is 4. And this one would say that, remember, you would have to change this to a minus -3, or you could think of it as the opposite of that. So my P value would be -3. And that one matches. So my correct answer is C. Common mistake is to think that this is 4 and this is -3, but if you use your foldable, it says that in factor form they're the opposites of what you do see. So this would be a P equals 3 and a Q equals a -4. And that doesn't match.